finally got this guest on who I just absolutely adore. Cyndi Freeman, who has been doing these Hotsy Totsy burlesque for like a very long time. And we have all encountered them, but Jordan Auslanders has encountered them the most. Mine was a Princess Bride, which was just, as you wish it to be. So take it away, Miss Cherry Pitts, and explain to us how this all came about.
Well, Hotsy Totsy has been around for, I want to say 18 years. It is a burlesque show. It is a nerdy burlesque show, and it's almost like a soap opera. So it always takes place at the Home for Wayward Girls and Fallen Women, where Cherry Pitts, that's me with a big pink wig, is the house mother. And we have to, raise money for sundries. And and then all sorts of people show up, like the Scooby-Doo troupe or Star Wars characters or George Lucas. We're about to do Stranger Things. But it is a nerdy burlesque show. And how it started, the original shows were not necessarily nerdy. We were just doing everything, but we noticed when we did something where we paid tribute to a great show that we liked, our performers were like, cosplay, that's amazing. I have these costumes that I wear when I go to conventions. And then the audience in kind. So it was whenever we said, let's tribute something, everybody got extra excited. So we said, well, then that's our brand. We're just going to tribute stuff. So we've done, oh my gosh, we have done anime and we just did zombies. We just paid tribute to Meryl Streep through Burlesque, which I got to tell you was amazing. The acts, the people, they really brought it. And then, yeah, coming up, we're doing Snoopy Comes Home in November, and we're doing our annual Star Wars holiday special tribute in December. So not just Star Wars, but when I was 13, I saw the Star Wars holiday special. It scarred me, and now I share it with the rest of the world. Make sure that we all feel the pain together.
When Meryl Streep, did you have the Silkwood shower scene? Because that's perfect for burlesque.
We said do whatever you want, and they leaned towards comedy. So we did have our go-go was the nun from Doubt. I did Florence Foster Jenkins, the woman who couldn't sing, and we had a wonderful tape of Meryl Streep going through an entire song off key. And so I dressed to the nines and then performed to a horrible track. Those are just two examples. I mean, it was we had a duet act with Death becomes her, and yeah, it was really quite special.
How do you choose your genres, though? You've added a few, you have a couple of staples. You do both Star Trek
Hmm.
and Star Wars.
Hmm.
I'm waiting for
And
the Addams Family. Uh,
ooh, that's a good one. I should jot that one down.
yeah, everyone's going as Wednesday Addams, it looks like, for
Yeah, for Halloween.
Halloween.
We
Um,
choose what we love, you
But
know.
well, when you say we, who
Oh,
is the consortium
the
that
consortium is primarily my co-producer and co-host. That is Handsome Brad, also my husband. He's very handsome. He's awesome and very funny. And we co-write the scripts together, often with a good friend of us, Andy Ross. But we come up with ideas on our own, and then we throw it out to the performers. And we have, I would say, a stable of about 20 performers that come in and out, and we just throw out these. This is what we're thinking. Is there anything you would like to add? So Meryl Streep came from them, but we thought that was a great idea. But mostly like we're big on superheroes, so we always do a Marvel. When Game of Thrones was the big thing, we were doing a Game of Thrones. We even did a Downton Abbey at one point.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that one. And
Yes, the Downton Abbey crew came into Hotsy Totsy while
well,
visiting their American counterparts. It was a chance for everybody to dress 1920s. It was great.
raising money for
So,
the mansion?
yeah, well, things were tough after World War One. Yeah, so we do what we love. We
Mhm.
pay tribute. It's not making fun. We had one person whose fiance did not want to come to a Star Trek burlesque show because he loves Star Trek so much that he couldn't imagine people making fun of it. It would break his heart. And then she won at the raffle. We had, I think it was 8 Star Trek plates, like dinner plate chargers. And so she was bringing it home to him, and she said, "I'll explain to him that they love it as much as you do." So
But
it's
yeah, you
very fun.
do the callbacks, if you will. You every incarnation of Star Trek from Enterprise to Strange New Worlds. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah,
Because
I'm
we
waiting
watch them
for.
all.
Yeah, no. I mean, you play to the fans who are in your audience,
Yeah.
dressed, in character.
Often they do, and I love it. I love it. And we often cast the audience, with the zombies, we were all the people who have survived so far, so the audience often gets, this is your role. And then they, it's almost like a Christmas play where they'll boo on the villains and they'll cheer on the heroes. So like we have at this stage, we have a really steady following, and they come each and every show and they cheer us along. And sometimes I would say join in, maybe heckle, but it's always in good fun.
Well, you encourage the hooting and hollering, as it were. I'm just wondering, burlesque started out as sort of satire, thinly veiled political satire, or not so thinly veiled political satire. I'm wondering if you would considered crossovers. Marvel Universe meets the DC Universe, Star Trek meets Star Wars, or something like that. And what kind of dynamic this is obviously a hypothetical.
We've done the crossovers when shows have done crossovers. So we were a big fan of Supernatural. We're a big fan of Scooby-Doo. There is a Scooby-Doo Supernatural crossover. So the last show we did was a Scooby-Doo show, and then suddenly, the characters from, Supernatural have appeared.
I'm sorry I missed that one.
How do you find all the people, your 20 performers?
Well, we've been doing this for, 18 years. So at the beginning, it really was just out and about and asking people, but now it's primarily people that we know. And then every now and then we'll do a shout out. Does anybody know anybody? And so it's almost always word of mouth. Occasionally people will come to the show and say, I'm a performer. And, we're like, great, send us a video. Let's see you. Tell us what characters you might have. And, if we feel they are, strong enough, we bring them into the fold.
You're like Forbidden Broadway, but Forbidden Burlesque.
Yeah. But you were saying that the history of burlesque is in satire, and that's, I would say, back in the closer to the late 1800s, you know. And then with vaudeville, burlesque became sort of the naughty version. I have a wonderful book called The History of Striptease that talks about this. And so burlesque became, the naughty version of vaudeville. And that eventually turned into the strip clubs as we know them today. And I think that the neo-burlesque movement in the 90s sort of came out of artists wanting to go back to, I don't want to say more innocent, because certainly I've seen some very raunchy things there, but more artistic, less about making money off the customers and more about creating a wonderful space for performers to enjoy and be creative.
Well, you got to have a gimmick if you want to get ahead.
Well, you also, you give yourself a story,
Mhm.
a beginning, middle, and end, and then you
Very
have
much
the
so.
acts within that framework, which
Mhm.
works quite well. If
Yeah,
I
I
can
come from
di
a storytelling background. The other job I have is I work for the Risk podcast, which is the stories you thought you'd never dare share in public.
I
And
was
I've
going
been
to
doing.
segue into that in terms of,
Mhm,
because, obviously this isn't the only thing that you do.
mhm.
Um, and your background is quite diverse. What you talked about risk there for a moment. Do you want
Mhm.
to get into the other things and where burlesque fits into that the whole resume?
I guess. I mean, I started off doing straight acting as a kid. I was a big fan of Carol Burnett. That's mostly where I was inspired. I want to be like her. And then I saw Wonder Woman. I want to be the next Wonder Woman, right? So it's like either Carol Burnett or Linda Carter, either one of those, that's where I'm going. So I started off straight theater, but even when I was in college, there were opportunities at Emerson to create your own material, and the teachers actually encouraged it. So I got involved with the comedy troops there, and that's sort of where I began to cut my teeth in Boston and back. I graduated college in 86. So in like the early 80s, this was when comedy was blowing up. And so I had comedy teachers that were professional comedians in the Boston area who had gone to Emerson. So Dennis Leary, for example, was one of my teachers in school. And it was really exciting to be able to see, have a person come into class and teach and then see them on stage and then watch them while I was still in college making it to big TV. And in the theater department, when I was there, that was not happening. The theater department was mostly people who had sort of retired and were looking for a safe place to teach, and they weren't really as ambitious. And so, with the comedy writing department, that's where I was really inspired and started doing stand up. And then the storytelling came out of the stand up, and everything evolves. And I was always doing sketch. I created a character in sketch comedy, which was Cherry Pitts, and it was a little bit Lena Lamont from Singing in the Rain and a little bit of Audrey from Little Shop, which are two characters I love. So I gave her the squeaky voice. And since she was Cherry, she had big pink hair, and then I had to give her a backstory and all this stuff. So I was already doing her, and then people said, "That's burlesque." So people suggested burlesque, having seen me do her in sketch comedy, and I even had a little stand-up act of hers. So I came to New York, found burlesque, and was like, aha, this is where I belong. So it all kind of wove in, but burlesque is very much physical comedy and physical and being proud of your body and showing off. And I often say, welcome to my midlife crisis. I started doing burlesque when I was 44. I just turned 61. I'm still at it. And storytelling is so in your head. So it's almost like it's scratching two different itches. And it's so occasionally they combine, occasionally they don't. But the reason why Hotsy always has a storyline is I've been to a lot of shows where the show is long and there's a point where you're enjoying it, but you're already thinking about, oh, I could leave at any time. If there's a storyline, no matter how silly that storyline might be, people want to see how it resolves. So a storyline will keep people's interest for a little bit longer. And so that's why we don't just have a host who says, and today we pay tribute to superheroes. Here's another one. We have a storyline that then people can get excited and cheer for. But that's always been by design.
So comedy these days has become even more dangerous I mean, first there was the cancel culture
Yeah.
where, now comedians are afraid to play, colleges and the like. But
Mhm.
now, we have the satirists, the talk show people in danger of their jobs, and it may all fall to burlesque. We may need you to save the planet.
Well, I mean, I've watched this from the sidelines with and I don't have a lot to say on the cancel culture because I still haven't quite figured it out. Um,
Well,
but
the reason
I've watched it in improv, I've watched it in stand-up. There have even been elements in the burlesque scene, and it's just this thing of being, missing the days when people were allowed to make mistakes and learn from it and grow.
if I can just sort of where I was going with that
Mm.
is that how do you excuse me, how do you address the the claims that you may face that this might be, objectification? Um, obviously, like,
We don't often get them because the
okay.
people who come to burlesque for burlesque. I mean, the one time I remember having a long discussion with somebody about it who was a feminist, and I was like, but this is my feminism. And we can agree to disagree, but I've had that discussion with people. Um, there is the I guess to a certain, I mean, it's a celebration. It's not objectification, so there's things that I will say. Not everybody is going to agree with me, and that's okay. This is my art form. This is what I like to do. This is us having fun the way we like to have fun. And
Well,
I surround myself with people that are like-minded. So it's the kind of thing where, One of my little day jobs for money is I work at a bar, and it's Lucky 13, which is a bar that has many of the burlesque girls go dancing on the bar, and I'm doing a burlesque show there tonight. So it's my whole world is sort of steeped in these wonderful art scenes where people are pressing against the boundaries and sort of creating what they want to create.
Well, lucky for us, you don't address things, you undress things. And
Hmm.
you were a wonderful guest. It's everyone, once a month, there's going to be a Hotsy Totsy at the Slipper Room.
Second Thursday of the month at the Slipper Room. It's always a good time. It's right now it's troubling times. We are in lovely escape from reality. So
What's
we
coming
promise
up
that.
for this in October?
Stranger Things.
Things.
Yep, and that's going to be followed by not just Peanuts, but Snoopy Come Home. And then we're going to do Star Wars Holiday Special in December, and we think we're going to do Warner Brothers cartoons in January.
Oh my God, you're doing Peanuts doggy style.
Well, thank you very much. Looking forward.
All right, well, take care. Have a great show, and thank you so much for bringing me on.